Welcome to the channel all about economic board games. Today I'm going to be giving you an overview of this game called Grand Austria Hotel. You can see the design is at the top there. Look at that lovely artwork, that waiter holding some white wine ready for me, and it's brought to you by Mayfair Games. Okay, so this game is all about running your hotel, and you can see this is your main player board here. You've got all your little hotel rooms, various colours that you're going to be trying to meet these little groups to get extra victory points and prestige points and extra money. You've got your money sort of scored on here as you go throughout the games. You start with 10. You've got these free tables at the bottom where you're going to be keeping your customers and your guests happy, and I'll go through what they do in a minute. And then you've got your kitchen here, which is where you're keeping all your food. You've got wine, cake, strudel and coffee, and then you start off with some staff as well, which you'll try and get out and utilise their benefits. Now the turn order then will start with you taking a card. It's an optional choice. So at the top here you've got these 5 cards, if you can see those, and you can take one of them. You can see these guys don't cost you anything, and they got various benefits like a reduction in cost for preparing your rooms, and you can get some staff out from the deck as well and extra prestige points. And as you take one, so you take this one and you pay 1, you'll then move these all down, and then there's a big stack of them as well. Now these cards, they're customers basically, and you're trying to feed and offer them drink. So in this case this chap wants free wine, and once you've completed that you can see he's yellow, so you can move him in to one of your yellow rooms if it's prepared. So you take your card optional first, you'd put it in your cafe ready, and I'm kind of skipping ahead really as to how you complete them. But the next thing you do is you're going to be doing your action, and this is kind of the bulk of the game where you're going to be getting your actions. And I really like the flex and flow of this because it's basically the first players rolling all these dice, and depending on what outcomes there are determines sort of what you're aiming to maximise and getting most efficient ones. So you can see you got 1 to 6, and the number of dice there represents how many of that action you can take. So option number 1 then you can see is like a little brown and white cube. You got strudel and cake, and there's 2 dice there, so you can take one or the other. You can't take more cake than strudel in that case. This is where you're going to go here to get your wine in red and your coffee in black, and you can take a combination of 3 of those. I like the way how this sort of little board depicts, your food stand, your coffee and your wine. This is where you're going to go to prep your rooms for number 3, so you can prep up to 2 rooms. So you take these tiles any colour you want, and then you pop them on your board here this way up. You start with 3 to begin with. Number 4 is all about getting money and prestige. I'll go over prestige now while I'm here. So throughout the game you're going to be wanting to increase your prestige on this track, because the game plays over 1 to 7 rounds, and when you get to round 3, 5 and 7 you're going to be scoring prestige points. And if you manage, you'll score the points below, and then you will deduct whatever that is, so -3. And if you end up in the yellow, you're going to get the bonus. In this case will be +2 goods of your choice. But if you are in the white zone, you've not shown enough respect for the governor, whatever his name is, and you'll lose in this case all of your goods from your kitchen. So you can see as you go along -5 and -7, you want to keep that in mind. So you want to really impress the main chap there who runs Austria, and you've got to impress him with your hotel. So where were we then? So we did prestige and money. Number 4. Number 5 is all about getting those staff cards from your hand, and it reduces the cost. So if I take a little look at the staff cards we've got on our hand, you can see the costs at the top here. So say if we want to employ this chap, it's going to cost us 4 money, and in that case, because there's the 1 dice on the 5, it'd be a reduction, and you'd get us an extra strudel in this case. Now you can see here as well that this sort of says you can do it once per round. On the back of the rules, it's quite a handy index, so we can see that's once per round. You got 1 time permanent in game end ones, and this is a really good index actually. It's kind of very much needed. So the final one is number 6, which is an interesting one, and basically for the cost of 1 crony, that's the name of the money in this game, you can do any of the 1 to 5 actions with the quantity of dice on the number 6. So if you wanted to do number 4, let's just say someone else had done number 4, They've done that one, and you really wanted a prestige point, you could utilise this number 6. In this case, it's classified as 1, and then you could undertake this action here, but you do have to pay the money for that. Now, when you actually do your actions, you've got these kind of interesting, say this is a 2-player game here, so the first player will be number 1 and 4, so it kind of reminds you of number 2 and 3, and when you take a dice, you place it on here to remind you that you've done it. And equally, if there's nothing you really like on here, you can pass, and then you wait for all other players to do their goes, or wait for people to pass as well, and then you get to take a random dice off and put it in the bin, and then you re-roll them all, and hopefully you get something you want. If you don't like that, you can pass again, take another dice off, but it just limits your odds of getting something you want. You can also do several different actions during your turn. This card's kind of useful. You've got -1, so only once per turn you can pay a crony to add 1 die on those chosen ones here. So say if that 5, you wanted to have 2 5s, hypothetically you could do that. You could pay a crony to move 3 dishes from your cafe here. So it's a slight difference. When you actually acquire food and drink, you can put them straight onto your guests, or you put them into your kitchen, but you then have to pay to get them from your kitchen onto them later on. So it's about being a bit shrewd as to which goods you take at that time. You can also place a wooden disc on the politics card if you meet the conditions. So at the beginning of the game, you would have chosen these A, B and C, and you can see that first person to get A gets 15, etc., 10 and 5 per second. So whoever gets up to 10 prestige points, whoever completes 2 rows on their hotel, and whoever has 4 red and 3 yellow rooms prepped. So that's a nice way to get some points as well. And what else have we got on here? This one, use a staff card with a once per round effect. So you can, as you get these staff cards out, you can use them again and again. So nice way to get resource, get points at the end of the game, and a host of other ones. And finally, you can move 1 guest of a completed order to a free room. So you basically, throughout the game, you've got your hotel, you're trying to get these mixture of food and drink to satisfy these guests. So in this case, this lady wants a strudel and some wine. And once you've done that, you're going to get the benefit of one of these cakes, and you're going to get a reduction of 3 on, looks like, one of your staff. And you can see victory points at the end of the game, or you might just go on straight away, I can't recall. And this yellow customer means you can then go to this one, in this case, turn over, and you've completed that. Now you'll see that the actual hotel has groups of colours. So let's take a closer look. So you can see that there's 2 reds here, and when you prep the rooms with that action on number 5, if you wanted to, you have to place them adjacent when you prep your room. So you could go here, anywhere around there. But you can see it's going to cost you a coin, 2 crony, 3 cronies. You go further up, but there's some victory points up there if you manage to prep those. But when you actually prep, say, this blue one, it's a singular blue one on its own, so we prep that. You can see at the top it's a blue room, and you've done one of them, you're going to get 2 prestige points. If you manage to do this 4 area of red, you're going to go to 4, and that's going to be 10 money, and money is crucial in this game, folks. So that's kind of how the rooms work. So you're having to keep a close eye on what customers you get, what they need to go to get the food and drink you need to then fill the rooms, take advantage of your staff and extra efficiency there. And it does come down to the dice as to what really comes out, but it just looks really nice, and a lot of different options to think about. And don't forget that on this prestige track, you've got you need to be really mindful of what's going on there. And that's it, really. There's a few extra points at the end of the game for any staff cards you've got, any resources and money. I think there's a coin each. And importantly, you don't want to have any guests left over in here, because you'll get -5 points for those. And there we are. That is an overview of Grand Austria Hotel.